And good evening. Welcome back to the last session of Unhappy All Unalike, our little Tolstoyan experiment in mid-19th century good society set in Russia. This is my idea, and now I can finally say I am proud of it. This cast was amazing. If you've watched any of these, all three of you, you will know that. So I'm going to just start introducing them. I'm going to start with my longtime partner in crime and co-creator of these little madcap affairs, Serafina.
I'm Serafina, her, playing Princess Tamara Konstantinovna Volkova. Well, turns out I've actually achieved my desire, which is an interesting thing that I did by accident, which is the way that I always achieve goals in role-playing games, which was to have liaisons with at least two characters, make one lasting even to the point of marriage, and discreetly drop the other one. I've actually done that with three people. It's fine. Princess Tamara is having a really rough time. She married her friend, Prince Valentine. They are trying to sort of rekindle their friendship on the other side of their weird Boston marriage, which turns out doesn't really work. She has reconciled with her estranged father, Konstantin Sergeyevich, and is still hopelessly in love with Countess Alexandra Fyodorovna Kuznetsova. So it's all going to go super well for her. It's going to be fine.
Everything's going to work out wonderfully. I mean, Anna Karenina has a happy ending if you watch one of the movies. Next up, someone who I am always more than happy to welcome to the table, our dear, dear friend Richard, who is playing our good friend Baron Grigory Antonovich Zinoviev.
Hi, I'm Richard. I am playing Grisha, and Grisha is the lover of Prince Valentine, the other man in that Boston marriage. Let's see, he came into this whole plot planning to be the person who did not need to fall in love or do anything but set himself up well financially, and now he is rather smitten as his lover has gone off to Europe to see his wife.
Fantastic. Everything's going to work out just fine. I mean, it worked out so well for you actually did work out so well for you the last time. Losing my touch.
What? Poison is not a great ending.
Next up, why don't we do Prince Valentin Stepanovich Volokov, since at least one of the two characters are. So Valya is played by our dear friend and drama maven Daryl.
Hello, my name is Daryl, and my pronouns are he, him. I am playing Prince Valentin Stepanovich Volokov, whose pronouns are also he, him. Dear Valya was a sweet and innocent and insecure young man who just wanted to be happy like in all the fairy tales he read as a child. And unfortunately, the real world doesn't work like that. So he's currently ensconced in a love quadrilateral with his wife, whom he has never once, sanctified their marriage, and even though they tried once upon a time. And then he's having an affair with his dear friend's brother, and it's funny because my wife has achieved her desire. However, I have acted in contrary to mine because I was supposed to determine my true love's feelings, which I did. Gregory loves me, and then I did not establish an engagement with him. I married someone else. So I'm winning, yes. Valentine basically was completely devastatedly overwhelmed by all of the lies and the secrecy and the inability to kind of realize the dreams and hopes that he wanted. So he and his wife decided to take a tour of the continent separately, and that has done wonders for him. He's feeling so much better about things. I'm sure that's going to last. I'm sure there's nothing that's going to come and knock him off that high tower. It's great. Everything's great.
I'm going to give you a pass on that desire, I think. You just had to wait around another couple 150 years and not in Russia. Oops. Why don't I introduce the aforementioned Shura, who everybody loves, some more than others. So Countess Alexandra Fyodorovna Kuznetsova is played by our dearest friend, Leandro.
Yeah, hi. Name's Leandro. You see in pronouns. I'm playing the aforementioned Countess Alexandra. Wait, did I say I use she, her? I don't use she, her. I use he, him. I'm confusing myself. It's late where I am. God, I have to stay up to get My Chemical Romance tickets because my sister's going to work. Yeah, that's happening. Anyway, where am I? Oh, right. Yeah, so Shura, I don't know. She shouldn't have much to complain. She's an exemplar of pretty much everything. She married the right person. A war hero. Has a lovely daughter. Oh well, kid. Yeah, it's a lovely daughter. She kind of accomplished her desire, which is find true love despite your loveless marriage. It's just that true love is considered out of bounds by society at the moment, and Thomas being the responsible one on this arrangement for some reason. Like, come on. And yeah, she's doing fine. Then again, last reputation stage, I don't think I mentioned this on screen, but she did pick up a negative reputation tag, which is cold and distant. So that's fab. She's doing great. She's not on tour of Europe. She's looking after the household. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Very good. It's the last session. It can only end happily, right? Right? I haven't read Anna Karenina. It ends happily. I'll take your word for it, right?
Yeah. Watch one of the Greta Garbo ones. And hey, I'm Kat. I use she, her. My gender is practically spinster at this point. I'm playing Konstantin Sergeyevich Katavasov, otherwise known as Connie, because English nicknames are a thing in 19th century Russia, believe it or not. Connie is a writer of farces, though lately he's been deepening his dramatic chops. He seems to have reconciled with Toma, mostly by virtue of her making her life an absolute wreck, which was the thing he didn't want to happen. But the last time he tried to intervene to make her life not a wreck, he made her life a wreck. So I don't think, really, basically, Connie, doesn't matter. So cool. We got all this stuff, so we have some upkeep to do. As far as my inner conflict goes, I'm reasonably sure at this point I am finished. I'm not really sure how I'm going to check something off, but I'm not irresponsible. I'm penitent and reconciled with my beautiful daughter. So cool.
What happens when you hit 6 checks on your duty your like inner conflict?
You solve it.
Did I?
It's resolved. Is it a tie?
I mean, no. I definitely did way more in pursuit of duty than I did for freedom. Well, okay, yeah, no.
It tells you something.
Yep.
Technically, we can do these kinds of special upkeep actions. Most of them revolve around things like you could give yourself a new drive, since you think yours isn't going to happen. Introduce a new connection, but we really don't need any more connections. I think the board is pretty clean for that. So if you want to write yourself a new, desire on the safety and upkeep tab, there's a little Mad Libs how to make your own desire. So cool. And monologue tokens. Who has not monologued? Practically everybody.
Except for me.
You're the only one. That's fantastic. So we should probably get with the monologuing.
I spent my money.
I kinda. Yeah, I'm just doing the math if I spend. I kind of want to spend the monologue token back at Toma, but like. Just want to make sure the math is right. Because I seem to remember what happens if someone was left with a monologue token that's spent on themselves.
Yeah, we messed that up at least once per run.
Screw it, it should be fine. I kind of want to know from Toma what a happy ending looks like for her. Look, these questions can be quite meta. It's fine.
What's the timeline now? Like, he's finished the play, but how many months or years or whatever has it been before we enter this next chapter?
I mean, that's up to folks. I was thinking maybe up to a year, maybe six. I don't know. If people need something in between, that would be totally fine.
Yeah, I'm cool with it being about a year. I think I'll monologue a little, but I'll just kind of describe where we see Toma picking up. Her room was always sort of immaculate, but when we see her in this moment, it's sort of destroyed. Like, there's just writing everywhere and books and things overturned, and she's sitting in the early morning light and looks like she hasn't slept, like she's been up all night, and is like scribbling in a journal, writing something down. And a lot of the strewn away papers have Sasha's name on them, and little notes and things about the way that she wants things to be, or how she wishes she had handled things, or whatever. Clearly hasn't spoken to you in a while. And she looks out the window as the sun is rising, and she says that as she's like writing down yet another letter to you, she says, Sasha, I'm never going to get the happy ending that I want with you. I'm never going to be able to be the person that I want to be in your life. But I guess I hope that there's a way that you can forgive me so that I can have a part of the whole that I would wish for us. No, that's not right. And then she crumples it up and throws it away. And that's it.
That's horrific. Okay, who's next?
I believe I have a monologue token. Yep, I do, and I'm going to spend it to find out what Valya was thinking as he got Grisha's last letter.
Could you remind me what was in Grisha's last letter?
That was the appeal for you to send for him.
That's right. Okay.
It was hidden behind. It was hidden in a cleverly pasted.
And we had established that I received this while I was in London, while I was away for my health.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool. So, yeah. Grisha, Valya carefully folds up the letter and tucks it into his portfolio so that it is away from prying eyes, and looks back at the half-written letter that he was actually in the process of writing to Toma. And he thinks, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep wanting to have my cake and eat it too. I can't keep pretending that what I want and what I need are things that can live simultaneously, symbiotically. I've lied to myself for so long that it was possible to have it all. But what good is it to parade my marriage around in front of the man I love? What good is it to parade my lover in front of my lawfully wedded wife? If I am ever to find some semblance of peace, I must choose one or the other. I must choose stability or infamy. And unlike the knights of old and all of the fairy tales I ever read, I do not think that I am strong enough to live with the pressures of a world that tells stories about me.
All right, Daryl, it's you and me, and I have to ask Grisha a question. You have to ask me a question. I know. What do I want to know from Grisha? Grisha? Grigorushka? Are you satisfied with your life?
As the winter comes to an end and Grisha begins the process of going back to Moscow to meet with Antony, he has several bundles of manuscripts and contracts that she has sent and is expecting him to return with. And I think as he gets into Moscow and is in the carriage and is not heard from Valya, he tries to think in a free-spirited, lecherous way about people that he passes, as if he was kind of remembering what it was like to be young. And then I think the carriage goes by his old apartment where he had his very first night with Valya on the way to the offices. And I think as he disembarks from the carriage and gets out, he sees a brooding, aristocratically dressed, extremely Russian young man walking sort of morosely down the street, and he just can't even feign interest in any sort of romantic, like eye contact or reverie. And as he climbs the stairs from the side door up to the office, Tony's offices of the publishing house in Moscow, he just pauses on the stairs and says, Valya, what have you taken from me?
Okay, then. Breaking hearts. Alrighty. Cool. So, as a part of our final monologue, dear Connie, it is opening night of Tatiana and her sisters. The curtain is about to rise, and from the wings, you spy all of us in the audience. You know what you are about to lay bare. What thoughts go through your head?
Well, you old fraud. You finally went and did it. It's time to sacrifice a 30-year career on the altar of art. I think it's good. No, I know it's good. Maybe it won't be understood. Maybe it will be understood. I hope Toma understands that what this is really saying is I beg her for forgiveness, and I forgive her. Certainly the critics won't. And with that, he stalks off. He heads up to the box where he's going to sit and watch the play with Toma. So, okay, wow. I think this has to be winter because, I mean, duh. So something around the winter of 1877, maybe around Christmas. I don't know. A frosty night in Moscow. I think Moscow. That'll make Grisha so much more unhappy.
And it being like just before Christmas, it was like everyone's all happy and joyous around us, and we're all secretly miserable.
How quickly do we want to start things off? Because I got a thing, but maybe there should be one thing before that to cushion it. You poor people. You want to do this? Okay.
Let's start with the drama. Literally.
All right. So it's just before the show is about to start. So Shura, who did you go to the play with tonight?
It has to be with my dear husband because I'm committed.
Let's say that your husband wasn't available. Let's say your husband wasn't available. He's busy.
Busy. Wow. Couldn't have foreseen that. Some great
Valya,
suggestions.
maybe? Or
chat.
Or...
Ooh. I think I've not. Last time I interacted with my brother on screen, my mother was also there. Either him or Valya, really. I'll go with my brother. Grisha. That seems wholesome. Just family. Nothing untoward with that.
I'm gonna give you a minute or two, and then I'm gonna let you guys do a little scene together for a minute or two, and then the fireworks. So, and go.
Are the real fireworks coming before or after intermission? Are the fireworks happening as soon as during pre-intermission during the first 2 acts?
There's a storm coming, my friends.
Yeah,
The storm is named Victor. But yeah, I think it's before the play even starts.
Oh,
okay, so this. I think Grisha is feigning liveliness as you are used to, but it's all very clearly feigned. And I'm assuming we have a box. You are a countess.
Yeah. Probably. I wonder if the count is still giving Connie patronage. Probably-ish. It's probably how. Yeah, that's probably how Shura got these tickets. Yeah, I think Shura is feigning politeness.
Sure, you can write a title long after you actually have patronage.
That's fair. Yeah, Shura's feigning politeness tonight.
And, I have money and you have a title, so. Grisha is feigning enthusiasm. And I think in an attempt to sort of, if he can't lift his own spirits, he wants to lift yours.
I think you'll find your efforts to be in vain. And I think
they are not good efforts.
Okay, that's fair. So I think it is just like I don't know if I want to act out awkward small talk. Yeah, we're just.
I think
we're
just
just
to the point where it is a shame. I have you sort of by the hand, escorting you to the box, and I said, "It is a shame Mother could not join us."
Well, at some point, age does finally start trying to catch up. Although, given how our mother is, she had a marathon's worth of a head start. It is a shame.
Yes. She looked straight from 17 to matron. 2 years before she married my father.
I think Shura does a polite laugh at that. Well, if there's one thing you can say about.
Happy. I think we've gotten to our chairs. And I've pulled yours out and closed the door on our box behind us. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's perfect. I think that's a perfect interruption. I think Shura is like a bit taken aback by that. But then she just kind of like settles in her seat and she says, "If I tried to claim otherwise, would you let it slide like you did before?" Or would you do something
Do you wish me to let it slide?
Grisha,
That would depend on what I...
And with that, the door opens. In steps Victor. He's wearing his full dress uniform, epaulets, sword, the whole nine. And he looks at Shura, and you've never seen him quite so angry and distressed. And he just says, "My wife, I would ask that you return home with me now."
I think...
Count, surely you can join us?
What's the matter? What's happened?
We need to have a conversation.
Conversations can certainly wait until after the theater, I'm certain. We are not Americans. We don't rudely talk until after the show has started and ended.
You will please excuse me, Baron. I know that she is your half-sister. But I fear that any further intercourse between the two of us at this moment would lead to unfortunate consequences for us both. So what your role in all these matters is, I have not yet ascertained.
Victor, it's fine. Grisha's being Grisha. It's fine. I'll go. And Shura turns around and kind of like gives Grisha like a hurried like kiss on the cheek and say like, "Give Connie all my love." And
okay, so as you by now almost everybody's in their box, so you're like you've got that empty space feeling right before a show, and Victor can't keep himself. When he gets into the stairwell, he just turns at you and says, "I've had a letter." And that letter led me to investigate your letters, my dear, as is my right as your husband. Please know that I don't hold you entirely to blame. I know that she is a unstable and unsavory woman, and she no doubt seduced you in some fashion. When we return home tonight, you will prepare your things, and I am sending you to Switzerland, where they say they have a doctor who can help you with this matter. It is a religious institution, not orthodox, but of good Christian faith. You'll remain there until such a time as the doctors ascertain that you may return home. Whether or not you are allowed to see Maria, I will wait for reports of his conduct and evidence of yours. You are never to see her again. Perfectly clear. If you do these things, then you shall avoid the unnecessary and ugly scandal that will soon fall upon you and destroy the good name of you and me both. If you wish to retain the rights that belong to you as my wife, you will accept these conditions. But either way, you are not to be with our daughter until such time as you have amended your means and your ways.
I have a thought. Not sure, me. Actually, no. I have a thought. It's percolating at the moment. I think all this time, as the count is talking, Shura has a range of emotions, and I think she's tried to settle on a kind of stillness that, like, back when she was being courted or whatnot, she that was part of what she was taught, how to get a husband was like to learn to control her emotions and whatnot. And I think her face is settled into this like horrible sort of numb stillness. Don't worry. It'll yeah. And I don't know what she'd say.
An even bigger question, who managed to convince Ludmila to write a letter to Count Victor?
Oh, that little bitch.
No, I'm sorry. None of you have read my new desire yet, so I'm going to let you go read that. Okay, yes. Then yes.
Why do you think I'm such a happy cat?
Yes. So yeah, if this is in the theater, it is in one of the like servants' halls, where I have snuck off to speak with Ludmila.
Wait. So essentially sort of a coat room sort of situation.
Yes, and I'm very much like not even looking at you because honestly, you're beneath me in so many ways. However, I did find your name in my wife's diaries, which I read. I said, "Well, of course, I don't want to be seen with you in public."
Afraid my Western European bohemian reputation will brush off on your sterling, princely reputation.
My darling, do not believe the
At least
clothes that a
your
prince
reputation outside of Greece.
My dear, do not believe the clothes that a prince wears, for many a beast have worn such beautiful regalia to hide their own means. However, I am appreciative of the letters that I have asked you to send, but there is still more work to do. I know that you wish to free your beloved Toma from the clutches of those who would usurp her attentions, myself included. And I hope that...
Do you think I want to make Toma happy?
I'm still, nonchalantly looking through the coats and not paying attention to you. And then I find my coat and I said, here we are. And then I pull from the coat a stack of letters. And Leandro, I need to ask if you'll accept a resolve token for the fact that I have plenty of letters of yours that I can imitate your handwriting.
Man, I mean, sure, give me a pile of them. I'll have a hoard at some point. I could take one more.
Great.
We've reached a part of society where I have 5 million tokens, it seems.
So I take this stack of letters and then I flip them over and the camera zooms in on them and they say they are addressed to Ludmilla, but they are in Shura's handwriting. And I pass the bundle along to Ludmilla and I say, I trust that you'll know what to do with these when the time is right.
I hope that when things end with Toma, she treats you better than she ever treated me.
My dear, I think that for the fact that we're married, she already is. I hope that this gives you whatever it is that you're looking for. And I hope that from this moment forward, you'll be able to pursue your own happiness in places where there are not already homes that are strongly built.
Prince Velikov, I gave up on being happy a long, long time ago. I hope you're aware that the kind of things that you and I do are not the kind of things people who want to be happy do. We do them because we have given up. I do hope before we take any more further steps, you realize that. And with that, she turns and returns to her orchestra seat.
He looks out after you and he says, I've already made peace with the fact that if I cannot be a prince, I will be a dragon.
I think we cut to Connie's box with him and Toma, and Olga Pavlovna as Tatiana is giving a speech remarkably similar to what Ludmilla said.
Great.
to her friend Nadezhda. And yeah.
So, you see, as actors, we must pursue our craft. We must pursue our desires, no matter the cost. No one goes into the theater because they wish to be happy. We go into the theater because it is the ultimate price we must pay, and we must suffer for the joys that come from being on stage.
Toma, what's your reaction so far to what's going on the stage, as you are blissfully unaware that your life is being dismantled by the two people, by everyone around you?
Yeah, it's bad. I think she is sitting on the very edge of her seat and sort of ungraciously leaning on the edge of the box and is just wrapped in attention on the people on the stage. And like every once in a while, she like unconsciously smacks her father for like a particularly pointed line or something that hits in a way that is just a little too on the nose for her. But she's fascinated and she like can't look away. Whether or not she'll be mad at you later remains to be seen, but
Don't hit me, but there's a killer line right before the intermission. Don't hit me. I said don't hit me.
I'm probably gonna hit you. No, she doesn't say that. She goes, shh.
With that, Olga Pavlovna delivers some devastating line from the stage. And the curtain drops, the lights start to come up. And Connie is just like, well, I don't know about you, but I need something to smoke.
She like shakily gets up from her seat and says, I think wine. Wine.
I thought you might say something like that, he says, and he reaches into a bag and takes out a bottle of French wine. You know when I bought this bottle, Tabby?
When?
It was my first birthday in Paris. I was completely broke. I had abandoned all my life, my family. I was living in a little apartment. This little garret apartment in the Latin Quarter with 3 musicians. Dark days. And one day I sold an article to an American paper because I could write in English even back then. And I should have spent it on fuel or food or books. But instead I bought this bottle of wine and I said, one day, Konstantin Sergeyevich, one day you will be at the Bolshaya in Moscow. One of your plays will be on. And when that happens, you will drink this bottle of wine with a beautiful woman and you will be content. And with that, he uncorks the bottle.
You know, you should spend your flattery in better places than on your daughter.
I'm all out of places to spend my flattery. I keep it at home. It's better. It's a better interest rate that way.
Seems wiser than some of the choices that we have made in the past.
Do you really find this hard to watch?
I feel like I don't know the girl on the stage.
Give it time.
Or does she get more interesting in the second act?
Wait around for the 4th. She has a long conversation in the middle of the night with her father.
Oh. Well, I'll look forward to that then.
I hope you do. On the other hand, I could run out and get myself some pillows to wrap around my arms.
Yeah, you're going to be bruised by the end of the night. Just get used to it, as the Americans say.
Tabby, I've known 2 fascinating women who were geniuses at living their own life in my time. Well, 3 if you count my grandmother. Olga Pavlovna, of course. And you.
She like glances over at you. She's been like watching them, like people moving around in their seats, sort of idly. She glances over at you and says, "Me."
I didn't know my grandmother Babette that long, but I see her in you a little bit. I mean, you're much prettier. She was all right. I've seen pictures.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that I inspired this art, I guess.
So my question is there a commotion outside at this point?
Yeah.
And is it Shura or is it Valya or Grisha looking for the 2 of us or what? I'll let you guys.
I know Grisha has definitely been looking for the 2 of you ever since Shura has not returned to the box.
Oh, this sounds like the time for you to step in so I can turn around and just big grin on my face just say, Grigory Antonovich. What can I say? It's going well. It's going well. Come have a drink with us.
Sergeyevich, may I speak to your daughter? I am never direct.
Well, old man, she's married, so...
May I speak to your daughter, please?
Grisha, are you all right?
I feel the need for a smoke. Perhaps I should step outside.
By all means, I will go and talk to the stage manager. Olga's a genius, but she keeps missing her blocking in the second act. And with that, I depart.
Tamara Konstantinova, how are you this evening?
A fair sight better than you, I'd imagine.
Before the first act, as things were about to start, the Count, my brother-in-law, came to fetch the Countess, my sister. He was in full dress uniform and looked quite perturbed and would not let me dissuade him.
What did you want with her?
He would not say in front of me. He insisted that they go home.
Why are you concerned?
I saw the look on his face.
And what look was that?
I have seen the Count look angry before. I have seen him look like he was standing in judgment. I have seen him look like he ruled the world and everyone was beneath him and failing. He looked like a man about to go into battle.
Are you telling me that she's in danger?
I do not know who else to tell.
Did they go home?
I believe yes. I went to look for them before the lights were extinguished, but they were not to be found.
All right. She grabs someone that's in the livery of the theater and says, tell my father there was an emergency and that we've gone to the Kuzitso house. Come with me.
He offers you his arm.
She takes it.
So now we got to find out where Shura is.
Yeah.
Kind of have a few words with the Count before things kick off, I suppose.
You've had a couple of hours it will take us a while to get there, so.
When I said a few words, I just meant like a conversation. I mean, we don't have to have gone back to the house, but I guess I think if we have a throwdown, let's make it there. So I think Shura mind is in slow motion, and she's almost kind of like just being shepherded towards the house. It's only until at least at the foyer, I think at the entrance for sure. They've just gotten out when Shura just kind of stops and says, You've just as soon pronounce my death sentence, Viktor.
I think he turns and looks at you, but it's not the look of a man enraged. It's the look of a man whose heart is breaking. Not that. Never that. How could you think that of me? I suppose it might be easy for you to just assume, since you made so many protestations of love to me, that anyone who made said similar things to you was lying. I never lied, Shura. I know I was not. I know that you were never in love with me, and I accept that. But to do this, why would you do this to me? Yeah, he's just toxic as fuck right now. Sorry, guys. I'm going to pay a price for this later.
To tell you the truth, Victor, you were the farthest thing in my mind when all this was happening.
I think very often I have been the furthest thing from your mind.
I think Shura's eyes kind of like flicker a bit from kind of like towards the directions of like, you know, the upper stories, probably where Maria is. And then goes back to Victor and says, well, we've hurt each other, Victor, but unlike you, all I could do to you is just hurt you. While you... I don't know what you think this would do, Victor, but you are going to kill me. One way or another.
Well, I'll join you in an early grave then. I am heartsick. I am sick of life. I am not a bad man. I never desired much. I wanted a wife who, if she could not love me, I'm from an old family. I understand that these things are rarely love matches. Could at least respect me and be a good mother to our children, but even if I were to allow that such a thing as love exists between you two, and perhaps it does, I am not a genius, but I am an old campaigner. I have seen things. How could we do this to our daughter? It's not that there isn't love. It's that she has to have a place in this world before she can make it her own. We couldn't do that like this. Not us two together, Sasha. Not you two together. If you think that I am not fit to be her only parent, I would understand that. I will send her to my sister.
Your sister is as heartsick as every single one of us, Victor. This world doesn't deserve our daughter. It doesn't deserve... I'm sorry that I wanted more. I'm sorry that I've failed, I suppose. I failed our daughter. But I'm not sorry that I failed myself.
He just sort of does one of those little, where you walk around in a circle kicking the ground, and he's like, I have failed too. And I'm not talking about failed to found a wife that loved me. Or men. I failed you, Shura, and whatever you think of me and my stupid and pointless love for you, I took my duties seriously as well. And you were heartsick and in spiritual crisis, and you turned to a wicked woman. And Perhaps that's my fault too. I hoped for a minute there, when we had our child, I thought maybe we would have that at least. We could both love Masha.
I thought the same, but I do love Masha, and I do love Toma, and I failed.
He winces when you say that.
I fail to see how such love can be wicked. I'm sorry that you tried your best, Victor, but it
You want to cut there, and we can go and go to Luda intercepting Toma.
yeah. This is
Yeah.
harder than I thought it'd be. So.
Yeah.
Maybe
I think,
we just see Shura turn and walk with that stately presence up towards the house.
So I assume Grisha has gone to hail.
Yeah,
A
I think
cab?
I'm like standing outside wrapped in my fur, or maybe I'm like I go down to the coat room. I'm alone. He's gone off somewhere to hail a cab to get us a ride.
I think Luda doesn't realize she's about to meet your eyes when you both see each other.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
that makes sense.
And I think she's just sort of stands there looking at you, almost brazenly.
Ludmila.
Princess?
Are you all right?
I'm going to refresh real quick just to see if I can deal with the lag again real quick before.
And she's gone. Vanished. All my problems are over.
Just so you know, it says recording is on every time you re-enter the room.
Yeah, it's disturbing. Like we were punished for hitting refresh.
Princess? She
Oh,
comes
should I
towards you.
refresh, Daryl, do you think?
I'm sorry?
Daryl said that my video and audio offset is intense on his side. Is anybody else seeing lag from me?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
I
you're
see you
pretty
talk, and then
Yeah, let me real quick.
Same thing for Leandro.
Oh, really?
Horrible recording message. Is that better? Great. Cool. All right, go ahead.
She just walks towards you and sort of doesn't break eye contact. Are you leaving so soon? Standing in front of the coat room, it's your father's production.
Yes, I had a friend has taken ill.
Oh. I was not aware you had so many friends.
I have a few. What few I have, I hold very dear.
I hope it's not that lovely woman, the Countess.
Now she takes a step towards her and says, "Why? What do you know?"
She seems such a charming person. And you have so often been in her company in Petersburg.
She takes another step towards you and says, "Ludmila, whatever has gone between the two of us, I would hope that you would not go so far as to harm a person who is innocent in all of this.
Do you think it's only about you?
When you say it, do you mean the play?
Oh, I thought the writing was very observant for your father, and the dialogue between women was strikingly good. But that makes so much more sense. No. There are people who are as bitter and cruel as I am.
What have you done?
I have only ensured that there is no need for us to speak to each other again.
She takes another step towards you, and like at this point we're like directly in front of each other. And I say, if something untoward were to happen to my Sasha as a result of anything that you have undertaken, let it be known here and now between the two of us that I have never in my life craved a title more than I do the title of princess, because I will use it to grind you into dust.
I look forward to that grinding. I believe that is my cab.
Great.
So just to be clear, the letters that I gave you were forged letters that had Shura pronouncing her love and undying sexual devotion to Ludmila.
They want you to hand over those.
Yeah, just to let you know.
Bring the pain.
Oh my God.
So Victor does not, just to clarify, Victor does not really know about Toma and...
No. Victor knows
Victor knows
about Toma and Sasha, but
But
you
Harold
also have letters that indicate that Sasha was sleeping with Luda. Just to destroy Toma further.
Great.
It's your turn.
It's to free Toma from Sasha's malevolent influence.
Can I give you a resolve token then from Luda, Toma?
Yeah, sure.
Just to push this along, in which she, while you were very close, slipped one of the letters into the hem of your, or to a fold of your dress, or fold of your cloak.
Cool. Great.
And you can reject the token too. So
No, I'll take it. I think I wind up reading it on the cab ride over.
Oh, but I want in on this. I'm gonna spend a resolve token to catch you right out of the cloakroom, because I come down here and all in a bother. Like, Tabby, what's wrong? Tabby.
So Mila has left, and
Yeah.
I'm standing, and I've discovered this letter in my cloak, and I'm reading it.
Tabby, are you ill? You look positively... It's the play, isn't it? Oh, God. I went too far. Stupid Connie.
And, like, tears start to stream down her face. And she says, no, it's not the play. I have something I have to do. I'm very proud of you.
Wait, Tabby. What's wrong?
Sometimes the people we love aren't who we think they are. That's all. That's all.
Can I help?
I don't know if anyone can help me. I love you, Papa. And she kisses him on the cheek and walks away.
I think we have to cut back to the stage where Olga is saying that exact same, is saying, I don't know if anyone can love me to her
Yep.
father.
Yep. Cool, great. I kind of know what I want from the scene at the house if nobody else has anything they want between now and then.
Now, I'm not saying we should. We could call the novel chapter there with everything
Sure.
up in the air what happens next. I'm not saying we should. I just thought as your facilitator, I should mention that this is a potential cut. Or we can keep going because there's a lot more we can do.
I think the house is where I would like to cut because I think there will be letter material there. And I feel like if I cut now, I'm not going to know what to say in the intermediary.
Do you want to maybe do the house and then a late night epilogue with you and Connie?
I'm into it. Yeah.
All right. And some more scenes in between.
Do you want to announce ourselves, or do you want to do the trying to break an enter, sneak under a window?
I think I have snuck into this house before.
How could I not know?
I have snuck into this house before. The question is, I go straight for the Count's study because I feel like that's probably where he is, drinking and surly and upset.
It's where he is.
And I think Grisha's sort of like waiting for you to like come back downstairs with Sasha.
Yeah.
Probably Sasha can see Grisha from the upstairs window.
Yeah.
The Count, he's inside. He's got his coat off. His tunic is kind of loosely unbuttoned. He looks disheveled. Everything about him just looks ragged. It's not so much that the puppets come unstrung, it's that the puppet's strings have been replaced by rubber bands, and he's just completely all at loose ends. He's got paper scattered on his desk, and he's like, as you come in, he snaps a pen by accident. He throws it down and looks up.
She runs her hand along one of the bookshelves and looks at the disheveled room and says, "It seems like we both come undone in the same ways. Interesting."
I knew you were brazen, but it is strange. It is fortunate you are not a man.
Isn't it just?
For we would have to. I could have accepted up to this point, but to come here now and crow your victory in my face.
I'm not here to crow anything. Do you know, I have been so jealous of you for so long, Victor.
I'll accept that as your attempt at a compliment, for as far as I know, no man has ever been jealous of me for anything except rank.
I'm not jealous of you for your standing or your station or your accomplishments. And she's just sort of like walking around the room, picking at things and not really looking at him. I'm jealous of you for being born a man. For being able to stake your claim to a woman and ride her into the ground and hold her there, whether she wants to be there or not.
That is unjust. I never wanted that for Shura.
I just mean men in general, not you specifically. I apologize.
You shouldn't. There's something in what you say.
I know that I cannot win in this scenario. And I know now that I never could have.
Princess Valakova. And he's very careful to emphasize the fact that you're of your married name.
Mm-hmm.
There is none of us who will win in this.
No. What are you going to do with her?
Tamara Konstantinova, there is still some chance that we can save her.
From what?
From out there. Call it noblesse oblige if you must. We have a position in society, and society is cruel and unkind. When I fought in the Crimea, I was just a young subaltern. The things I saw there's a sickening of the soul that happens when you see so much death, and you know that you have become part of a vast machinery of death. For that, they gave me medals and sent me off to Central Asia to subdue people for whom Moscow is not even a legend. For what? For God's greater glory? I don't think God would have been happy. For the Tsar? I've met the Tsar. He's not that impressive.
She actually laughs.
But we have been given so much to Tamara Konstantinova and taken so much for granted. And there's a price that has to be paid for that. I, for one, would do as little injury as possible to Alexandra Fyodorovna. I've already sacrificed everything I had hoped for her and me. It is unjust for me to ask the same of you, but if you did, it would be easier for her. She could go on a vacation, take the waters, perhaps, and return to her family, to her daughter. I would make no demands of her, except that she observe some sort of decent facade. But you, Tamara, you know that if you remain here with her, she will never be able to do that.
I know.
And if it is necessary, I will go and leave her as well. Whatever I might say about my wife, whatever I might have said in heat about her unnaturalness, she's a good mother. She'll raise Masha well. She'll make a good match for her when the time comes to auction her off.
I came here to tell you that you win. With one caveat. I will go. I will never see her again. But if I find that you are not as good a husband to her as I would be, I will make your life extremely difficult.
I believe you. But I do believe it would be interesting to see you try and make my life more difficult.
No one ever believes that the snake is venomous until it strikes, my friend.
May I walk you out, princess?
No, I know the way.
I must go as well. I must return to the ministry. It's a dangerous night. The bridges over the Moskva often freeze when the weather's like this.
Indeed. Good night.
Au revoir.
Yeah, and she leaves.
Like there's a brief. So I want to know. Hey, actually, there's a way to know this. Has Shura monologued? She has not. I want to hear Shura's thoughts as she looks down and sees Grisha, and then eventually sees Toma and Grisha get in a cab and ride away.
I think Shura's in her room. Whatever kind of grace she had did crumble as soon as she's kind of like alone, to the point where like she had to like, because I don't know, like kind of like all the strength just left, and so she had to kind of like, for some reason I had this image of like she hears the cab outside, but she feels unable to like, she's like collapsed in the chair, but she feels like unable to like stand up to see what the cab is, so she had to like almost like drag the chair with her to the window. And then she sees Grisha and Toma, and she thinks, so that's that then, I guess. Perhaps it would be easier to just believe myself dead. Perhaps it would be easier to just consider myself dead. If it were, then I wouldn't have to feel so much. It's all quite a bit much. I was told about what to expect, but with expectations, maybe I'll pass on what I was told to my own daughter, and then hers to her daughter, then hers to her as well. But all I could pass on to her now is knowledge that is knowing that there are things one can't have, no matter how hard you want them. No matter how hard you want them so much that it hurts to just not have them. Of course I love her. Of course I do. I can't. Is this a story I'll tell you, Masha? That you can love so much it hurts. Or better to just laugh and pretend to be dead. I think Shura watches the cab leave, and she watches as it leaves, and she's just sitting there watching as it leaves.
My addendum to that is the cutscene of Viktor coming down back in his full uniform, wrapping his old military greatcoat around him, pausing by the door to unbutton the Order of Alexander Nevsky and place it on the table. And just turning to one of his footmen and saying, "Though the weather's too foul to ride back, I shall attempt it on foot. Good night, Matvey." And he walks out into the snowstorm. What a tool. That sure seems like a novel chapter, folks.
Yeah, I was so anxious during that last novel chapter that I had to go get my fidget toy.
I saw.
I was like, I need to spin something. I need to be soothed.
I apologize to everybody for Victor.
No, he's great.
It was fantastic. Like, I had so many feelings, and it was great. And I was like, I'm not the most evil one.
Pat's been waiting to whip that man out at all of us. Clearly.
I knew after whoever paid the resolve I think it was Daryl paid the resolve token for Victor to have gotten the letter. Like, yeah, okay, I know how I'm going to bring this one to a boil. I didn't do anything that Karen didn't do in the novel except send the wife away to a mental hospital.
Yeah.
Oh my.
I also have to confess, like, I did come into this with the best of intentions of going for a happy ending, and then suddenly I needed a new desire, and I was just like, oh, here it is.
I will destroy everyone. Burn the village down. I shall make a desert of this and call it a peace.
Oh, goodness. Oh.
So, that was the novel chapter. We have to do reputation.
No.
I mean, we got to do it one last time. So I think the play has netted Connie both a positive and a negative reputation tag.
Makes sense.
Scandalous, because the play is scandalous and lots of people are spending all their time trying to figure out who the people in it are. And brilliant, because it is actually unaccountably good, if perhaps not popular.
I definitely got a positive reputation tag for making a sacrifice or denying my own desires to preserve the dignity of myself or others. In an unbecoming situation, like in the biggest way, I feel like I should get it twice.
So what I need to ask, though, is I did a lot of really terrible, terrible things, but they were in defense of the strictures of society and bringing our group to a higher level of moral turpitude. So
I mean, it is called good society.
So I'm just going to say, like, my new positive tag is a term that Kat spoke, and I immediately knew that's what it was. Noblesse oblige.
It's true.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
Hello.
But you should probably take a negative tag as well, because you sure as hell acted in a way that compromised your morality.
Right. So apparently, I acted in contravention of society's convention somehow. Don't know how that happened.
It might, and I'm just going to put this out here, be all the gay sex.
There's not been that much gay sex on a gay sex volume.
Lesbians.
No, I'm just saying on a, only the 19th century would find this a high volume of gay sex.
This is fair. I mean, it's pretty low for even for our game. We had 5 gay sessions. But then Andre and Boris were...
Well,
Can't
we
believe we're
constantly
pining
threatened each other.
Can't believe we're pining for that romantic story.
By the way, I was leaving breadcrumbs in the throughout the first 2 episodes about who Connie's grandmother was. So go back and watch the vid. He did have a very scandalous affair in her mother's journals, and he had to reverse the gender of some of the characters.
Happens.
Yeah, that's a thing. Okay. So that's reputation. All of ours are terrible and shady. We skip rumor and scandal. We no longer need it in any case. And we're going to go epistolary. I'm going to make a proposal, though, before we kick straight off into 19th century Russia. We write letters. What do people feel about the last novel chapter being a longer time jump? Like a couple, 3 years, maybe even 5 years?
I was thinking that as well.
I have an idea for where it would be, and it's a location we've never built a set for before, so it could be kind of cool.
Well, why not? Why not? We have the cheapest carpenters in the movie business.
They're all imaginary. It's an accounting trick. I was thinking Yalta on the Black Sea, which was a popular resort both for people who wanted to do their health and people who wanted to get the hell out of the cold weather.
Oh, interesting.
It's also very Chekhovian, and this has been Kat's little Chekhovian short story series of Chekhovian skits inside a larger tragic novel. All right. I'm gonna start the epistolary chapter just to get this out of the way, and also to punish Viktor a little bit more. From the Baroness Clara Filipovna Ivanova to Princess Daria Yuryevna Volokhova. Dearest Daria, I trust this letter will finally catch up to you in Greece or Sicily or Naples or wherever it is you are off to this year. I do appreciate the kind note you sent me when you learned of my dear brother's passing. The poor man suffers so. You inquired about the circumstances of how such a thing could be to strike a man down in the prime of his health. He had to attend an urgent meeting at the ministry and went on foot out of some misguided sense of optimism or duty. And one thing being another, fell off a bridge into a stream of the Moskva, then managed to crawl out and drag himself all the way home. For a while we thought he might survive and rally, but the pneumonia set in after a week or two. He spent a long agonizing period of half in fever, half in pain. He did cry out for Shura towards the end. And I need to know, was Shura there?
Sure. No, I was gonna say she fell asleep in that chair, but she was probably woken up because her husband is dying. No, she was there.
Oh, he dies over a period of like 3 weeks in agony.
Okay. Oh, yeah. She's there for some of it.
Oh, God. Not at the end? That's perfect.
Yeah, no, she was looking after her daughter. She's busy.
But of course, dear Shura was not there for him then as well. It is perhaps just as well. You and I both know, dear Daria, the hazards of making marriages and how poorly they can turn out. And very often death is the only release for us, either our death or the death of our husbands. I would have stayed to instruct Sasha in the manners and ways of widowhood, but she had no desire for my company at that point, and I suppose I cannot blame her. I was not particularly kind to my sister-in-law after my first husband died. Well, do write me back from wherever you are. Perhaps someday I shall join you on one of these little jaunts. Well, I know that it's very cold, and I miss my brother. Yours, yours lovingly, Clara.
I'm willing to give a resolve token for this. Do Valya and Toma have a kid?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Cool. Then I have a letter to Prince Valentin Stefanovich Volokov from Princess Daria Yuryevna Volkova. My darling boy, I am only too thrilled that we will be spending so much of the summer together now that my little bundle of joy has arrived. I swear to you, the birth of my first grandchild has brought me more delight and joy than I have ever experienced in all of my long life. I am, of course, now off the coast of Greece. It is delightful and sunny, but I do miss his little chubby cheeks looking up at me. Oh, dear Ivan, what a sweet, sweet boy. I'm very happy that you and your wife seem to have come into such concert with one another. I did wonder at the beginning of your marriage if you were marrying far below your station, but she seems a lovely girl, and something must have happened to really endear her to you in the last 3 years or so. She seems utterly devoted to you and to the child, and I am very much looking forward to bringing her many, many gifts from the coast. She has written me several times while I have been away, which is more than I can say for you, but I'm very happy to hear through her of your great successes and your wonderful and sparkling nightlife that the two of you have been enjoying very much in each other's company and appropriately escorted at various theaters. I did read Connie's last play and wonder if there wasn't something going on between his depiction of the young ingenue and his daughter, but that would be far out of keeping with what I've seen in her character. He does tend to write from life. Do tell me if I'm reading too much into this. Anyway, many more details about all of the beautiful things she's bought and how much she's excited to see you, and absolutely no nagging you for a second grandchild, and it's delightful. Your loving, doting, and ever-adoring mother, Princess Daria Yuryevna Volkova.
1 second. So, he means this earnestly, but sarcastically, or with a double entendre, or not double entendre, with a double meaning at the same time. My favorite and most beloved of all countesses in Russia. Where are we? Physically, where are you now, do you think, a year after the death of your husband?
Oh, that's tricky. I think if only the year, probably still in that house.
You've not left Moscow?
I don't think so.
You've not returned to Petersburg?
No. Life is kind of like... Actually, no. She did return to Petersburg, but she's still at that house.
Oh, still at the Count's house.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if...
And
It's kind
Valya,
of like... Okay.
I'm sorry. Valya, did you go back to Petersburg in season?
Yes, because I'm having a very, very busy and delightful social life with my wife, whom I step out with all the time, and only with my wife.
Yeah, Shura doesn't have a social life anymore. So.
Where is the dame list? There we go. My beloved, my favorite countess, my beloved Shura. Who would have thought 5 years ago that you would be the one in Moscow or would be the one in Petersburg as I wrote to you from Moscow, where I have been voluntarily. For all that I said, I loved Russia. I do not think I ever appreciated this most Russian city as I have over the past year. I know that you are still in mourning, and the house in Moscow must be a difficult place for you. It has been too long since I have seen you, though, and I hope that we may make some arrangements for you to return. I can only imagine the pain you are in. To have lost everything you have lost. And I am sorry for any role I played in making that pain greater. I thought bringing Toma to you that night was the right thing to do, because it was what I would have wanted. And once again, my selfishness and lack of imagination made me unempathic. He gives you a list of several places he knows you liked in Moscow or enjoyed. Not a list, but he just sort of a gossipy update on places, people you enjoyed. Do return to Moscow when the season shifts. Perhaps you'll even bring Mother. It has been too long since anyone disapproved of me. And it would be worth it to see you. Tony sends her greetings. And I send my love. Yours, Grisha.
I'm gonna write a reply back to Grisha, and just says to Grisha, Maria misses her favorite uncle. And yes, I've confirmed you're her favorite. Mainly because your competition is that humorless specter that the Baroness Clara calls a husband. But she does miss you. And it would be poor of me to deny her a chance for the two of you to reunite. So we will see you soon. I would request, though, that you do not mention Toma in... Actually, I shouldn't say Toma. She says the Princess Volokova in any manner. Yours always, your sister. And I want to get rid of some negative reputation tags. Actually, I'll do that in the novel chapter. There's plenty of them. Not that that should be a focus, because I'm actually reaching my limit of resolve tokens, which I've never done. I want to do that at least once, so might as well.
So I have a letter. From the Prince Valentin Stepanovich Volokov to his cousin, Anatoly Filipovich Oblonsky. My dear cousin Tolya, enclosed you shall find the evidence of a dare made real you once posited to me long ago. You shall find the ashes of that childhood fairy tale book that I once clung to so seriously, so distraughtly, the one that you always teased me about. I send this to you to let you know that I am happy to have finally left all of those childish delusions behind. You see, my dear cousin, I believe I have finally taken a citation, if not the full page, from your own book, and have determined that I shall be the author of my own life from henceforth. It has been a wonderful 3 years. I have been ensconced in the love of my beautiful wife, whose momentary heartbreak seemed only to devote her even more steadfastly to the happinesses of hearth and home. And I find myself held up by everyone around me in ways that I never thought they would. You see, when you stop waiting for someone to tell you how your story goes, and you start deciding to write yourself into it, and you construct plot twists and cliffhangers, all in the efforts to point those around you towards what you think is best for them, you find that the story becomes much more engaging and much more enjoyable. After all this time, I finally understand why Konstantin Sergeyevich became a playwright. It is truly fun to meddle in the lives of other people. I know that you will be vacationing in Valta with your new beautiful bride, Anna Sergeyevna. I find it myself quite surprised that you did finally manage to talk her down the aisle. She seemed almost a lost cause after she had taken after her brother's freewheeling lifestyle. I do hope that our time there shall cross over, because I do think that my wife and I, as well as our beautiful little son, Ivan, will be spending the summer there. Dear cousin, I'm very happy to say that I am no longer that fairy tale prince I always posited myself to be. That prince is dead, and those dragons are slayed, and now I am the king. Your dear cousin, Valya.
You are a monster. We stand in the presence of a criminal mastermind.
Oh wow, a Daryl character that got dark. Who knew that was coming? Yeah. Completely
Dark, vicious,
blindsided.
cruel. I have a second if anybody else needs a pause, but I don't want to interrupt and cut off anybody.
Go right ahead. I have a second letter, but I can wait a little bit.
Kat, please give me if you would, you're the person of it, what is a good French name?
Man and woman.
A woman.
First and last?
Just first, I think.
Jeanette is too easy. Something actually kind of French.
Something that would sound aristocratic to tourist.
Aristocratic to tourists. Okay, hang on. Great, stop me like that. How about Josephine?
Josephine? Lovely. Thank you. From Josephine and it's going to be terrible because it's not meant to be convincing to anyone who actually speaks French. From Josephine, Marquess de Leon, to the Prince Valentin Stepanovich Velikov. Yeah, it's back. My inability to say Russian names.
Volokhov.
Yeah. Thank you. My dear Prince, I do appreciate the promptness with which you paid me when I left Moscow those years ago for my services rendered. I have been spending time in Greece, and I've even made trips to Lesbos. Return trips for me. It has a certain symbolic beauty, as I remember a younger, farther away life. But certainly, I have toured more widely than that. I have toured so that money has begun to run short. And when money runs short, it is amazing who you end up drinking with. People who remember you, for instance, from your time in Greece. So I write to you, dear friend, for surely after all that we have done together, we are friends, in the hopes that you will help refresh my financial situation. Surely you would not want me to go to your wife with information, and that we can resolve or we can rely on our friends to support us. But on the inside, on the inside, Luda uses her full real name.
I have one quick letter, and people can decide whether or not they find it and send it on my behalf, or what happens with it, or if it just kind of like lingers. But it is like on my blotter and then sort of set aside in my room. From Princess Tamara Konstantinovna Volokova to Countess Alexandra Fedorovna Kuznetsova. My dear Countess, I understand that there is some small chance that we will be in close proximity during the summer months. I cannot say that I am looking forward to it, but I wonder if 3 years out, there might be some chance for the two of us to speak. There might be some ghosts that we could lay to rest. I do not know if you have heard, but in the intervening years, I have also had a child and find myself to be strangely content in my marriage. I will not speak to you here of things that I am feeling or thinking, other than to say that I would prefer it if there were peace between us, if we are indeed to find ourselves sharing a space for any length of time. Sincerely, Princess Tamara Konstantinova Velikovna.
To the Baron Grigory Antonovich Zinoviev from the Prince Valentin Stepanovich Volkov. My dear Baron Grigory Antonovich, I know that it has been some years since we've last conspired, and I know that I write you, and I know that you received this letter with assumed little joy. I wish that these circumstances were different, but I must seek your guidance on a matter that is rather delicate in nature, and one that I unfortunately do not feel safe to disclose in the form of a letter. I will say that it demands a rather large sum of money to a latter unscrupulous individual, and though they are not within their rights to demand it of me, they are entirely within their power. Again, I wish not to speak of this in a way that could be found, and I know that you have often been entertained by that marvelous young novelist you contracted some years ago, who I see you constantly about with socially. But I do hope that our long-standing memories and our solid friendship can urge you to visit me in Yalta. If there is a word I could say, it is this: I hope to see you there. Yours, Valya.
I think Leandro has one letter left, and I have one letter left, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm sending any more.
Yalta, May the 3rd, 1882. My dear Tabby, I arrived a few weeks ago. I don't think it's just that I've been to the Riviera, but Yalta remains a surpassingly boring town for a holiday. It's dusty and hot, and will get hotter. There's nothing to do until the steamship comes in. Then the only thing to do is either watch people get off the steamship or get on the steamship or drink. And as you know, right now I am under strict orders not to. Your kind concern about my recent attack was, well, Tavi, I appreciate it, but between Anna Sergeyevna and the Princess Daria and Olga Pavlovna, when she dropped by unaccountably for a couple of days, I have been surrounded by affection and caressing, and I find myself missing the directness and the citric tang that only your words can give me. I assure you, my health is recovering exceptionally well. I remain a rather young man, and doctors say that it is entirely possible to come back from such an injury as this. I am certainly not the first man to have a heart attack at the age of 50. Since that's all I'll confess to. But I do miss you, Tabby. I can't help it. I know that you're off with your husband, but I hear that you are going to join him. He is already here and cutting a fine figure among a certain set of the salons on the boardwalk. Do come. I seem only to write letters nowadays. So consider this an invitation. Both our hearts have been broken in this last several years. Let's sit by the seaside and try to heal them. Your loving father, Constantine. So, final chapter. Yalta, 1882. 10 years have gone by.
Gosh.
Yeah. Everybody except Valya has done so much more poorly in those years. So it seems that the Princess Daria is around.
Mhm.
It seems that Valya is already there. So, what about Grisha? Have you been here for a while? Or are you just arriving? Oh, and Constantine's here. He's been here for a while because, he's dying. So,
That would depend a little bit on Shura.
She's the
On how
last
long
to
Shura
arrive.
could. So I am only now arriving with the assumption that I will get here after Shura. And then from there, but I'm hoping that I'm actually hoping that I will arrive after her. But I'm planning to essentially be here to see my sister. And maybe to give away some money.
So where shall we begin? We haven't seen Valya and Grisha. We haven't seen this show in a little while.
I want that.
Shall we frame it up in perhaps like a private booth at the hotel restaurant, or would you prefer something more intimate?
I would love it if we didn't expect to see each other.
Oh yeah, like maybe you surprised me.
Yes, I went to my hotel, which is more, has a slightly more libertine reputation in the know set. But I've come to my sister's hotel to see if she has arrived yet, and decided to eat here because the restaurant is better. And this, I'm assuming, would end up in true 19th century novel style, incidentally being your hotel.
Of course, yes. Perhaps we actually get sat across from each other, or maybe you're already there and I've come in to be seated for lunch, and I see you from afar, and I actually demand to be seated with you, even though you're already like halfway through your meal.
I think as soon as you seat, I just fold my hands in front of me. I stop sort of eating, and I just, your serenity.
Come now, old friend. Is that what we've fallen to?
Have I not often called you your serenity in the history of our friendship?
Yes, I do have many letters that begin with that address.
You do. And I thought you had abandoned sentimentality in the collection of old letters.
There are some flights of fancy that I still cannot disabuse myself of.
Well, I'm certain you were a much younger man when you received them.
As were you when you wrote them.
What's your intention in keeping them?
For the same reason that I think my wife keeps your sister's letters.
You had written me about a matter of business.
Yes, there's the Grisha I know, always willing to talk about business.
I was usually ready to talk about books, something you once cherished.
Oh, this is about a story, to be sure. But first I must ask you something. Do you think that the ways in which your sister and my wife parted ways did them better or did them worse?
I was certainly worse for an extended period of time when you stopped loving me. I cannot imagine that when two people so involuntarily stop loving each other, it's so shocking
And yet, have you not?
Forced apart by life. I cannot imagine that is a pain that has any justification.
And yet, have you not found new happinesses, perhaps with that novelist?
New happinesses do not excuse old pains, much less when they are inflicted deliberately.
Well, the business that I have called to ask your assistance in necessitates shielding those who are already hurt from old pains.
Does it?
I think that there are certain things that, once buried, are best left in the graveyard.
How did they come to be in danger of grave robbers?
A phantasm from the past who has come to demand the only thing that will sate its hunger, money.
How long before it runs out of money again?
Well, it has been some 3.5 years now. Perhaps another 3.5.
And so you're going to write me every 3.5 years, every 42 months for assistance in this matter?
If it helps, I could write you more frequently for less serious things.
I would not want to interrupt the happiness you have so dearly bought for yourself, nor to disturb the happy life your Toma has found.
Well, unfortunately, it is not merely myself and my wife whose happiness should be disturbed if this ghast finds its way.
Oh. So it is altruism that drives you to ask for money. How much?
He rattles off a rather obscene sum, says it nonchalantly, as if it's no big deal.
What would happen to you if I did not pay?
Well, like all false kings in fairy tales, I assume that I would plummet to the ground.
And why? Would anyone want to melt your wings? And he sounds almost like touched right there, like he's actually sincerely worried about you.
And I think that that's the thing that kind of cuts through Valya's like cold demeanor, and he looks up at you, and like there's a moment where like his eyes start to like tear up, and then he like looks away, and with a quick brush, they're gone. And he says, but like all constructed things, someone will see it and envy it and want to tear it down. I admit that I have had to do things that I maybe regret, that maybe were not for the best, but it was so that I could build a strong house. And if my house comes tumbling down, Grisha, it will not just be the Volokovs who will be hurt in the debris.
I do not know if you're trying to threaten me there.
It is not a threat. It is an admission of guilt.
I still don't know what you're guilty of.
And that is perhaps for the best, because you may not look at me with those eyes in that way if you knew what crimes I had committed.
Valya, I cared very deeply for you once. It is painful to see you like this now, and it angers me deeply that someone would use an expression of love, desire, pleasure, joy to try to tear someone else down, try to torture someone else, to get their own way, to get money, to manipulate events.
There are all kinds of monsters in the world, Grisha.
Do you think I don't know? I had hoped that all the old dragons were dead. And here you are, standing up to fight one.
I think I am rather more the dragon clutching its hoard than the prince come to slay it. Will you slay me?
He looks at you deeply confused. Why would I slay you? You are the victim of blackmail. You are someone being manipulated by rumors, the person I've cared for, something that all of us have to live in fear of, in terror of, every single one of us. I believe it was that sort of letter that destroyed my sister and her life. Though I don't pry. And I would not see you suffer the same fate, because you may not be so lucky as to have the one who would hurt you fall into the river.
My dear Grisha, are you saying that you will assist me in this dark errand?
It will take some time, but I can send for Dima to bring a banknote, something check, letter of credit, whatever it would be.
So, I think before he even catches himself, Valya reaches across the table and places a hand on yours, and just like his eye, like the tears actually flow for a moment. Like one runs down the side of his face, and he says, "Thank you, Grisha. You don't know what you've done for me."
After seeing what my sister suffered, I cannot subject anyone else to this. This cruelty. The world is cruel enough to us. It is vindictive, and yet every moment we find a second of happiness or joy, there is always someone who is willing to stand and abuse it. And I think this is maybe one of the few times you've seen him sort of genuinely, justly angry without trying to hide it. Usually when he's angry, he deflects.
Which seems to actually just make Valya wilt in his chair all the more, because like he knows how terrible he's been.
Hold that thought. I'm going to spend my monologue token right now on Valya.
Oh, spend it.
I don't even need a question. I just want to hear what he's thinking.
Okay. Yeah, so like in that moment, like when he sees all of that righteous fury in Grisha's face, when he sees him there and ready and willing to like jump to his defense, even as he's lying to protect all of his own horrible actions, any like belief in the fact in what he was doing was right just withers inside him, and he looks up in those eyes and thinks, I don't even deserve to be called a dragon. I don't deserve anything. I have taken every single person around me, everyone that I loved, and I've dragged them through the dirt, and I've stuck them in graves, and I've stood on a mountain of all of their sorrows and called myself happy. What monstrous king does that? One that should, by all means and all rights, meet the end of their life at the edge of a blade in a town square. Blood is the only thing that could possibly forgive me at this point. And there is no way for me to give it. There is no way for me to make this right without destroying them even more, without dragging them out of the ground and flaying them again. Perhaps it is better if I disappeared altogether. I've abandoned them all once before. They just didn't know it. Maybe it is time to let them all be free of me.
I feel like that scene.
Yeah, I think they're like the very last thing is like he saying that, like Valya's like, would you like to go for a walk along the river this evening?
Why not a walk along the beach?
Hot.
Great. That was.
So, I kind of want to do a short scene because I would like a longer scene later between Tamara and Connie.
Mhm.
But I think before we do that, there should be a short scene. So Connie can't. he's not staying at a hotel because he can't handle the stairs. So he's in a little cottage, the Russian equivalent of a bungalow. And you've come over, and I think Anna Sergeyevna can be there too, maybe if she wants to be. And you've brought little Venyechka.
Yeah.
And Connie is in bed. He's in the armchair he spends a lot of his day in. But he's trying to hold up little Ivan, who's squealing. He's like, "Come here, my little Vanechka. Come here, my darling boy." Who would have thought? Who would have thought that with a grandfather like me, you would end up looking like your mother? That's good, in case you're wondering.
You did get blessed with the good looks in the family, I will say that.
I'm glad you have this child, Tabby. I know you love him.
He isn't terrible. I'll say that.
I'm happy that you've become a parent. Was it everything you thought it would be?
Was it like living in a dungeon with all my joy sucked out through my eyelids? No, it's been actually rather pleasant.
Don't tempt me. I'm an old writer. I might try and use that somewhere.
You are free to use it as you see fit.
Just between you and me. I'm not writing anymore, but I have been scribbling little doggerel. Maybe when Vinechka is older. Well, you could say them to him.
Well, maybe when Vanechka is older, much older, he will express an interest in his grandfather's writing on his own. And I won't have to reveal it to him like some sort of state secret.
I mean, they're just little poems for children.
Oh, well, in that case, then he can have them now.
Yeah, the ride down here was interminable, I hope it was better for you. The only nice thing was I ran into this young medical student. He's also a writer. We talked about writing. He was very interested in the theater. And on something. Tabby?
Yes, Papa.
I know I'm the heart patient, but I think you should sit down. Do you know that, the Countess Lilia actually has been sending me condolences? I'm not sure why. Maybe it's part of her charity mission.
I was not aware, no.
Oh. You do know how she likes to chat on and on, even in a letter.
Yes, I am aware.
Which is why I know something that your husband probably may not even be aware of.
What are you talking about?
The Countess Kuznetsova is arriving today on the 4:00 train.
Oh. Well, that will be good. That will be good. It'll be good to see her.
I'm sorry, Tabby.
For what?
For not just loving you in that moment. But in any case, you should not spend all day cooped up with this old relic.
Papa, I cannot think of a better way to spend an entire day than cooped up with you.
Tabby, you have a chance to steal a march on her annoying middle-brow brother and your husband. I mean, I guess he finally earned the title. Several years late. Who does he think he is? Louis the 16th?
Seems about right.
I just want you to think about it. Here you have a chance to speak to her alone. And I wonder if you will have regrets. Regrets are a poison in your old age, Tabby. I mean, I've tried to live my life without any. And then I built a raft out of them.
Yes. Well, if we had no regrets, it would mean that we never made any choices.
Damn it. Someone, give me a pen. Now, I think I am going to take a nap. And I will leave you to decide what you're going to do. Just leave Anyet. If you go anywhere, just leave Anyechka with Anna Sergeyevna. You know that she loves the boy.
Sleep well, Papa.
I'll see you in the evening.
Great. So, Shura, shall we?
Oh, I guess, yeah. So, it's gonna be
I
a
have
chat.
no idea what the fuck is about to happen.
I don't know either. Nothing as dramatic as last year for sure. I don't think we can top that.
There won't be poisoning, but it might be as dramatic as last year.
I did see when Richard said poisoning. Dowd was like, no, no. I was talked down.
Not this year. I have different tricks this year.
In many ways, they were worse. In many ways.
I would say they were worse.
Yeah,
I would say I did a worse thing.
you took a hard left turn into bad guy town. Like, it was just like,
Yeah.
the worst.
like
And you got there in the
Vaselis-
penultimate episode too.
Yeah, like at least Vasilisa had some proper. This I don't know. She had. Okay, never mind. We're not going to litigate last year's happenings.
I am just trying to make everyone happy, and no one was happy before, and now at least two of us are happy.
A game of averages in Russian society.
Oh
It's bad.
Yeah, 2 out of 5 is bad.
There's at least
It
one
is.
person who wouldn't even exist if you hadn't done what you've done. So, like, let's just. It's cool.
All right. Okay. So I think sure.
What time of day do you arrive? Like in the morning, afternoon, evening?
What was the time that Kat said? Is it 4 something?
This afternoon or something?
Yeah, afternoon.
Right.
So probably like sun setting. I don't know how Yalta days work, but like probably like sun setting when Shura finally like ends up in a hotel. Probably like there's some there was a bit of a delay of some sort. She had to like see to other stuff. And yeah. I think she opens the door. What does she find?
She finds Toma sitting. There's like some sort of writing desk in the room, and Toma is just sitting there the way that she used to be sitting there back when they were younger women.
I think Shura let's open the door. When she opens the door, obviously she wasn't expecting anything. She sees that and she wasn't expecting that. She's more than a bit shocked, for sure. And I think the first thing she does is like immediately just like close the door behind her. And she doesn't know what to say. I think she is genuinely shocked.
Yeah, Toma stands up when you close the door and says, I thought it would be easier if we spoke in private.
I think Shura kind of like looks away or looks down and says, Nothing about this is easy. Especially with you here and me here. What? And I think she looks up, says, I thought we had nothing left to say to each other.
Toma looks away and fiddles with a piece of paper that's sitting on the desk and says, I didn't stop speaking because I had nothing to say. I stopped because I had too much to say.
So why now?
Because Viktor is dead. Because I don't have to adhere to the promises I made him.
Viktor.
He loved you.
He did. The most I could feel for him is, well, some part of me did wish I could love him back. But the best I could do for him was pity.
Did you pity me?
I tried not to think about you. I did my best. What promises did you make of him?
I realized that I couldn't be the person that he could be for you. Basically told him that he won. Because
He won on a technicality. He won thanks to happenstance. He won because he got lucky.
And tears start streaming down her face, and she says, I know that you never owed me anything. But when I saw the letters that you wrote to Ludmila, I just couldn't pretend that everything was okay between the two of us.
But
I thought it was better to let you go.
Everyone's smiling, watching me. They go, what are you going to do now, Leandro? What are you going to do now? Toma's probably... Shura's looking away, so Toma doesn't see the war of confusion. It's like, what? I'm sorry?
The letters that you wrote to Mila, the protestations of love, the deep feeling you had for her. I know that it's not like I'm your husband. You don't owe me fidelity. You don't owe me dedication. But it broke my heart.
I think I had an idea to just, and it's just gonna be sad then. I think okay. Kat nodded so hard that her screen froze. I was like, oh, what the heck happened here? Shura lets out a long sigh, still not looking at Toma, and she says, I'm sorry you had to find out like that. Just to clarify, that doesn't make it real. That doesn't mean it actually happened, because that's still Valya's thing. But
yeah, still bad. You don't owe me anything, apologies or otherwise.
Still, I should apologize. It's just, I think Shura kind of looks back, and there's like tears pooling in her eyes as well, saying, You took me to so many places. You took me to someplace warm, but I'm it's cruel of me to repay that with. I know you say it's not the same, but it should have been.
Toma takes a step towards you and says, I understand how things happen and how many husbands have forgiven their wives for an affair. How many wives have forgiven their husbands. Do you still see her?
I think Toma's sure is looking away again. I tried to be more discreet. I learned to be discreet. Wait. Even so, that was years past, but I thought I could. No, it's. I thought I could just. I thought I could just do it again, but. What is that? What does that say of me? Looking for any silly escape.
Toma takes another step towards you and says, I just wanted to tell you that I forgive you. And I don't know if that forgiveness means anything or if you even want it.
I told Victor on that night that he as good as well have killed me, and he said that if he had, he would join me soon enough. And he was right. Toma, if you deserve better than what I could give you. I don't know if I can. And I think Shura is like trying to form the words, because partially because she's trying to build a thing around this lie that she's making. Just fun. It's always fun to do that when you're distraught. I'm just thinking, I know what I want to say. I want to say I don't deserve your forgiveness. I've been thoughtless about you, and you, in all your generosity, would just say something nice, and I'd ask that you spare me all the niceties. You've said your forgiveness. I don't think anything more needs to be said.
And like tears are still kind of rolling down Toma's face quietly, and she says, "You're right." And then like she kind of walks past you to the door and then stops as she's opening it and says, "Whether or not you deserve it, I forgive you. And I will love you my whole life." And then she walks out and closes the door behind her.
Shura collapsed to the ground. It's just big, wet sobbing. Just proper heaving. Yeah, I couldn't find an actual train, so I might as well make for the metaphorical one.
So I want to have a scene with Tabby at the end, but does anybody have something they want to do in between?
I don't know. I mean, I would like to, but I kind of don't want to.
I mean, honestly, the idea of all of these people going on perpetuating all of these lies is like the biggest tragedy of them all.
All right. Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. Like, we can leave the Ludmila thread hanging because it's just going to keep happening.
Forever.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Ready? You ready for this, Tabby?
Probably not.
Cool.
But let's do it.
So when do you finally get back to Connie's house?
I think she goes for like a little walk on the beach. And then it comes back to pick up Yvonne.
So Connie asks you to come back because his nurse's night off. After you drop Vinechka off with Valya. So there's probably that's like a little scene of you going home, and then later that after dinner you come back and he's asleep in his chair. He's got the actual handwritten play script from Tatiana and her daughters. And when you walk in, he sort of wakes up and looks over his half moon glasses at you. Ah, Tabby, I was just dreaming about you.
Oh, good dream?
You know, for a long time when I dreamed about you, I only had regrets and sorrows, but now they're always good dreams.
Oh, I'm glad, Papa.
I am so sentimental when I am ill. I'm just a terrible old fraud.
I think it is in our nature as...
But you forget, I am a Russian man of letters. I am supposed to be frosty and salty on the outside.
Oh, yes.
Inside, black despair, not filled with treacle.
And you and I are so concerned with what we look like on the outside.
You know, it closed while you were not feeling well, so I don't suppose you ever got to see the end of the play.
No, I didn't.
I was just reading it. Of course, you know, I was thinking about corrections, but it's done is done. It ends with the father Boris and his estranged daughter Tatiana. They're both people of the theater. She's been divorced. He's married to her best friend. It's a situation. It's very strong. I mean, I workshopped with Olga Pavlovna for months. But they have a long conversation in the middle of the night where they try and forgive each other. It's not easy on them. I don't know if Tatiana actually forgives him because she doesn't say so before the end of the curtains. Sometimes I think she does. Sometimes I think he didn't deserve it. But long midnight conversations between estranged fathers and their daughters rarely end in any kind of note.
I don't know. I think our long midnight conversations have ended rather well.
Ah, well, perhaps we're not estranged anymore.
I haven't thought of us as estranged in many years.
Did you see the Countess?
And I think she like sits down on the floor at his feet the way that she did in the garden years ago. And she says, I did.
The way you say that tells me most of what I need to know.
I think we've spent enough time talking about people that don't love us back.
I'm sorry, Tabby.
It's all right.
Who's going to love you now?
I have a son. I have a husband who at least bears some passing affection to me. We're friends. It isn't terrible.
He actually starts to cry a little because he says, this dull gray beige prison is exactly the thing I set out to give you all those years ago when I made you marry Nikolai. And then you were free from it, like a phoenix. Now you're back in, Tabby. How is that just?
She like puts her head against your knee and closes her eyes and says, Papa, the thing they don't tell you about stories and justice is that if you don't stop telling the story at some point, there is no justice. If you keep talking and you keep living, eventually you land in death or pain. I had my happiness. It can't last forever.
You must have truly suffered to be so wise at such a young age.
It's either that or being Russian.
Everyone keeps saying that. I don't think there's any difference. I've been in Europe. They're not that much different. Maybe the French a little bit. Well, you had one great passion. That's more than I can say.
Now. You and Dolly had quite a time.
Dolly was only ever my mistress. I married my art, and then I treated her very poorly for a long time. I only cherished her with my last act. Funny. I wish the Countess had done the same with you.
Well, we still have a few acts to go.
And there's a long pause where you realize he's probably fallen asleep.
Mm-hmm.
But after a while, he sort of opens his eyes and says, Tabby, fetch me a pen.
She does.
When she comes back, it's over.
Aww.
Yeah, my heart too. Cool.
I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm fine. I could call that novel.
That's a novel chapter, sure.
So, the rules for the epistolary chapter in the epilogue are we get to write one letter, but let us not consider this shackles of any kind. Last time we allowed quick replies and other cutscenes. I know it's super, super late, and I appreciate everyone staying, but I think we owe it to ourselves to do this. So,
Yep.
So take a moment, everyone. Please. Remember, you did this willingly. I'm like, hey, everybody, I'd like to break your heart in January.
Yeah. But I agreed to this with the knowledge of what happened last year, thinking, all right, I'm used to that level. And then we found so many levels.
It went so much further.
We found new areas of misery.
I mean, I would say we could just do Brideshead Revisited next time, but Wah is kind of an asshole, so I'm not so sure.
We'll figure something out.
It's not like he's getting residuals.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I've been watching the damn thing, and it's like, hey, I came back to England because I needed to be a strike breaker, and I'm just like, whoa, wait a second, Bella. Hang on here.
What if we didn't?
Yeah, let's back that up there, chum.
Woof.
Cool. Anybody want to start? I mean, I'm officially dead, but that doesn't mean I can't do something.
Can't write a letter. Oh, I know what letter I'm writing. And it's a little bit unusual. From Princess Tamara Konstantinovna Volokova to Ivan. My dearest Ivan, today you're getting married. I've dreamed about this day for your entire life, which I think is the obligation of most mothers. Oddly, I do not feel as sentimental about your sister's wedding. Perhaps it is a thing between mothers and sons. Your father's mother was similarly inclined, doted over him until you were born, basically. I see that you are deeply in love with her, and that is all I've ever wished for you. It is all your grandfather wished for me. I think it is all we all wish for our children. They will live a life full of passion and joy. You know, your father and I have never been precisely what I would wish for you. I will quote to you here from your grandfather's final play, from the midnight conversation between fathers and daughters. I would never have you dim yourself for another. Instead, I would have you shine all the brighter for being close in concert with one that you love. And damn the man who tries to tell you otherwise. I wish you so much happiness. Your mother.
The silence is agonizing.
Okay, I have something. I have to clear it with those of you who have not written letters yet. I have to ask, did we ever discover the truth, or did I take that heavy burden to my grave?
Grave.
That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. Okay, cool. All right. To my dear daughter, Konstantina Valentina Volokova, or whatever her married name is. She has a married name. She's not a Volokov anymore. But you were right to send me off to this quaint little village where I can live out the last of my days. Indeed, the old house was full of far too many ghosts. If only they had stayed there. It's been many years since your beautiful mother left me for whatever adventure comes after life. And with her, as with all of my friends who eventually departed one by one, they took every single last chance I had to tell them the truth, to tell them the one thing that I should have always told them from the start. My little Connie, I wish that I had had this kind of conversation with you, the way your mother could always talk with her father. I wish that I could have been there to give you the kind of advice that her father always gave her. I don't think that there's any more advice I really have to give. I think you've made all of the choices that I could never make, and I think you've lived all of the lives I could never live. Because due to one horrible mistake I made, I was horribly limited, and I would never be able to undo it unless I had told the truth, unless I had told them all what I had done to them. And now there is no more chance of that. They all went and found one happiness or another. They found their way through a world, and all I could do was carry these lies with me. I won't even bother to tell you what they are, because you can't absolve me. So I will take these heavy chains, and I will walk off into the dark. My only advice to you, little Connie, is that no matter what you could ever do to another person, you cannot protect them with lies. You cannot protect them with deceptions. If you must wound them with the truth, then stab straight for the heart, but do so knowing that it is for the best. It is something I could never do, and it is all that I regret, and all I ever will. Your dear father, Valentine.
Oh my god.
My very dear Olga Leonardovna, I had the chance, while talking with Konstantin Stanislavski the other day, to discuss several of the lesser-known members of our artistic fraternity. On his advice, I sought out your namesake. Do you remember Olga Pavlovna Akhmatova? When I was a young man studying medicine, she was the absolute toast of Moscow and Petersburg, played all across Europe. It's a sad warning for you, I'm afraid, Olga, that you may be forgotten just as soon as she has been. But then again, you are far more immortal, in my opinion. But I did seek her out and speak to her, and I had the enormous pleasure of dining with her and the old playwright's daughter. I could not believe that she was still alive and living in Moscow, but there she was. She goes by Princess Tamara these days. But she shared many fond memories of Konstantin Sergeyevich, showed me many of his original manuscripts, and it suddenly brought to my memory that I had met him once on the train headed to the Yalta steamer. Strange, these coincidences that cross our lives. I have to say, much to my surprise, there's actually quite some interesting things to be found in some of his plays, especially the things that he didn't publish. And I suspect, if I investigate this further, had I the time between rehearsals, that I might discover that there are several plays that I knew well in my youth that may have actually been written by him. Strangely enough. This life that we end up, this artist's life, has so many twists and turns. Not that I plan to steal anything wholesale, but there are certain problems with the role of Masha that I think you're aware of, and it may help while we rehearse Three Sisters. I shall return shortly to Moscow. My health is improving. Thank you very much for inquiring last time. The doctors I see insist to me that my hemorrhages will get better in time, though, of course, as a medical man, or a former one at least, I am well aware that they will not. Yours, as always, faithfully, Anton.
That is quite a gun you fired off.
Thank you.
My beloved sister, Her Serenity, the Countess. It is becoming rote for me to remind you that you are still my favorite countess in all of Russia. We are safe at home. Well, in what Dima says is our home, in Paris. And I am regretting that my last trip to Petersburg was all too brief. I am sending several things for Maya in the attached packages. I assume that you will see that they are distributed to her as you deem appropriate at the best and most appropriate times. I promise there is nothing terribly scandalous that she will show off at school or take bad influences from that will awake the righteous indignation of any clergy people. Those are for you in a separate package. My dearest sister, it was sad to see that you are still so often alone after all this time. I know that you want to protect your daughter, and I know that you are thinking of her. But soon she will be married. And you should begin to think again of your own happiness. Many years ago, when we were in Yalta, I met a delightful old fraudulent woman who went by the name Baroness or the Marquess Josephine. She accompanied me out with Dima to the beach one night, and while he went swimming, she stood on my arm and whispered to me, "Our people need to learn to lie to everyone else and be honest with each other." I have sort of adopted her as a trickster goddess, and hope that memories of better times will remind you that there is still happiness to be found in the future. I miss Russian cooking with a passion. But Dima informs me that we are to dine out with friends tonight again. It would be good to be sitting in your drawing room and speaking quietly to you. Please go be happy. Your loving brother, Grisha.
Give me a second, I need to modify some bullet points. Okay, so I think this letter is like a few months after that one. To my dear brother Grisha, I hope that Maria and her new spouse has not been that much of a handful. I know they've kind of dropped into your everyday life rather unexpectedly, but Maria wished for an adventure and possibly the novelty of staying in a house that's not as cold as ours. She, in the few letters I've gotten for her, she's She said she's well. Frankly, she talks quite a bit about this about her. Frankly, she talks quite a bit about her spouse's sister, and I'm quite no, her spouse's cousin. There we go. Let's separate that a bit. And well, I hope you have some sound advice to lend her way. Frankly, she would do much better with it than I had in the past. I would not want you to think I've been a hermit this whole time. I did make plans to come with, but of late I've been abed more often than I cared to be. And I'm, well, worried's not the right word, but I feel that whatever happiness you've chided me to go seek is just that bit beyond my grasp. I would like to see you soon, Grisha. It would be a kindness. The only one I can let myself have. You're probably wondering why that is. Well, there are things that can't be said on paper. I'd be glad to tell you in person. I'd like for Maria to come as well, but I wonder if our mother knew just how easily children can see. How easily children can see the truth and yet not know how to process it. I'd like to think I tried, but I know that she would see that her mother was ever only barely there. It's cold in Petersburg, but I guess it's always been cold. I've denied myself most sources of warmth, and yet now that time's coming soon, I guess I'll be selfish once and ask for you to come. Yours always, your sister.
That was a true tragedy. Like no happiness at the end.
No happiness, no joy. I don't know. I wrote it a little bit for our kid.
Hey,
Yvonne was very in love.
Connie reconciled, died happy, finally killed his art. Connie did fine. Thank you, everybody, for sitting through this joyless excuse in Russian literature that I hope you really enjoyed, because we all did, even though we're all shattered emotional wrecks of ourselves right now. But I love this. I love this game. This was amazing. You guys were amazing. And we'll do it again next year, because that'll give us enough time to heal. So until next time, do svidaniya.
Do svidaniya.
Do svidaniya.
And yes, I've been doing the blooper reel at the end of the episodes. That may become a tradition. I don't know.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, I didn't know how we were going to out-gay last time, and then you brought conversion therapy into the mix, and I'm like, there it goes! There we go!
We out-gayed last time. In the worst possible way. And, oh no, wait, I'm fucking him. I forgot. I did read, strike that last part out. I did read,
Okay. Then I can do my thing. Come on, Will. Yeah. Hang on. Ow, 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 ow.
Totally gonna be fine.
Yeah, it's just possible that Leandro took her. Oh, you're there. I was going to say, maybe you just ran.
Where would I run to? It's 3:30 in the morning.
Also, if anybody's running right now, it's Daryl.
I am actually terrified. I'm like, oh no.
Also, Shadow trying to make love to your microphone is killing me.
He is a happy boy.
I do want to have it on the record that I do know how Anna Karenina ends. Just want to make sure that.
We didn't doubt
In case
you.
anybody's wondering.
It's got to go in the blooper reel, though. Like, the very last thing before the episode ends.